Hey there, boys and girls. Welcome to your Ed Puzzle homework tonight, dealing with explaining lesson 9.10. So just like we've done in the past, we're going to go through and explain what we're supposed to be doing in lesson 9.10. And then once you're all done, you're going to have to go through and solve some of those problems on your own. So if you have not done so already, please turn to lesson 9.10 in your workbooks. That's page 346 and 347. And remember, as we're going through this, make sure you're filling things in because you will be using those later on in the book. All right, so our learning targets for tonight are I can convert pounds to ounces, or I can change pounds into what they equal in ounces. They're still going to be the same amount. And then towards the end, we're going to also talk about solving mass word problems, or word problems that deal with pounds and ounces. All right, so on page 346 at the top, we're talking about exploring the relationship between pounds and ounces, which is kind of like a step up from what we did the other day. Okay, so at the top there in the step in, it says, how could you calculate the difference in mass between these two bags? Well, the first thing we kind of have to focus on there is what difference means. And difference is, the difference is the answer to a subtraction problem. So you know you're trying to subtract these two bags. However, kind of like our porcupine saying here, we can't do this subtraction problem yet because one of the bags is in pounds and one of the bags is in ounces. And that LB stands for pounds and OZ stands for ounces. So we know we need to get these to match because it's just like when we compare fractions. It's easier to do that when the denominators are the same. Well, it's easier to add and subtract things when the labels or the units are the same. So what we need to do is we need to change 2 pounds into what it would really be in ounces, because then we can go through and do the subtraction. Well, we know that 1 pound is 16 ounces. So 2 pounds would be, very good. 2 pounds would be 32 ounces. So now that we've figured out what this bag would be in ounces, and we already know what this bag is in ounces, now we can go through and do the difference, or we can subtract. So really, when I stack my numbers up, it just turns into a basic problem we've worked on before this year, which is 32 minus 5. And like we talked about when we're doing this, we'd start in the ones place. We can't do 2 ones, take away 5 ones without getting a negative. So we know we have to come over to the tens place and borrow. If I borrow one of those tens there, I'm only going to have 2 tens left. And then I'm going to bring that 10 that I borrowed back to the ones place, and I'm going to have, very good. And now I'm going to have 12 ones over here. And now that I've got everything set up after I've borrowed, I can go through and solve this very easily. And 32 minus 5 is going to turn out to be, 32 minus 5 is going to turn out to be 27. Nice job. Okay. So like I said, let's make sure we're filling this in the book. So if we look down on this page just a little bit where it says complete these statements, we do need to fill these 3 things in. Okay, we just kind of reviewed it. We know that 1 pound is worth 16 ounces. So make sure we get that filled in. 1 pound is 16 ounces. Now the next one over says half of a pound. So that means we have to take that pound or those 16 ounces and we have to break it into 2 groups. Or we have to split 16 in half. What would half of 16 be? Yeah, very good. Half of 16 would be 8. Because think about it, you'd break that 10 into 5 ones each, and then those 6 ones into 3 each. 5 ones plus 3 ones would be 8 ones. Now, the next thing they want us to do is they want us to think what a fourth of a pound would be. So again, that's where we have to take that pound, or we have to take that 16 ounces, and we have to separate it or divide it into 4 equal groups. Or if we look at this, we know that something times 4 is going to be 16. What's that missing part? 1/4 of a pound is going to be 4 ounces. Nice job. Let's make sure we've got all 3 of those filled in because we will use them throughout the next few pages. All right, and then only a couple more things to do here. So we're going to keep focusing on page 346, and we're going to look down here at the bottom for A and B in our step up. And again, it's the same type of problem we were doing at the top. We're going to figure out the difference in mass for each pair of bags when they want us to show our thinking. So if we look here at A, again, it's just like what we did earlier. We've got 3 pounds in one of my bags and 9 ounces in the other one. And if they want us to subtract these, we have to make sure the labels or the units are the same. So what I did here was I know that 1 pound is worth 16 ounces, and this bag has 3 pounds in it. So I did 16 plus 16 plus 16, or I could have just done 16 times. Yeah, I could have just done 16 times 3. So I know that if I turn this into ounces, it's going to be 48. And now that I know that, I know 48 is my bigger number. And if I'm trying to subtract and not get a negative, I'm going to put it on top. And I'm just going to do 48 ounces, take away 9 ounces. Okay, there probably will be some borrowing in there. So what I want you to do is I want you to finish solving problem A. Make sure you're showing your thinking. And then I want you to come over to problem B and solve that one. Again, one of your bags has 12 ounces, the other one has 5 pounds. So you need to change those 5 pounds into ounces, and then you're going to do your subtracting. Alrighty, and if you look over here at the next page, it's still the same type of problems over there. We're still calculating the difference in mass, except instead of using bags, now we're using blocks. All right, and now we've also got some mixed numbers in these blocks, or in these boxes. Okay, and if I look here at this first one, this says 2.5 pounds. So again, what I did was I separated this into its parts, the whole number and the fraction, and I figured out how many ounces were in each one of those. So I know that 2 whole pounds would be 32 ounces. And like we figured out a little bit ago, a half of a pound is going to be 8. So now what I have to do is I have to combine those together to figure out how much this whole box or this whole block is worth. So I know that this block is going to be worth 40 ounces. And now that I know that, I can go through and I can do the difference again because I've got both things in the same unit or in the same label. So I'm just going to do 40, take away the extra 7 in that second box. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing over here for B after you've finished A. Alrighty, nice job. And we've only got 2 more to work on here. And these are both word problems. So again, I want you to think about what the word problem is asking you to do. Okay, for example, if you look at A, it says 6 muffins together. So when you put all those muffins together, they weigh 4 ounces less, so they're not as much, as a cake that weighs 1.5 pounds. They want to know how much the muffins weigh together. So you don't have to figure out how much each muffin weighs. They just want you to figure out how much the muffins weigh. So again, this turns back into that subtraction problem where we've got to first change 1.5 pounds into ounces, because if you notice down here, that's what they want your answer in when you're all done is ounces. So we have to change 1.5 pounds into ounces, and then we've got to get rid of those 4 extra ounces that the cake weighs. So it really just turns back into a subtraction problem. Okay. Once you've finished A, I want you to also work on B. We'll go over all those later on. Have a good night. Make smart choices.